Hey, I'm going to try to build this QRPGuys antenna. It is the UnUnTenna Plus. It does have a antenna tuner on the antenna itself. I've got 4 cameras set up this time, and I'm gonna try my best to get this recorded a little bit better. I've got power plugged into everything, so hopefully we're not running out of power or anything like that like happened last time. So this kit does come with parts in a bag like so, and this board comes in the bag, and it's quite a different kit than the last one that I put together. I've also got my instructions over here, and to get enough lighting going on, I'm having to have doors open, so wind is going to be a problem. So it is what it is. I'm going to set my voltmeter down where it can be seen, but also hold some papers. And really the instructions on this one I haven't read through, to be quite honest. So we're just gonna go see what happens. I'm gonna get my voltmeter turned on to where continuity test is going here. So here we go. Says first we're going to install C3, which is a capacitor marked 104. Well, let's see if we can find in this bag of parts a capacitor marked 104. Quite a different scenario than I had last time. So what I'm going to try to do is set this somewhere else for right now and separate out some parts. And I've already dropped the Toroid. I'm just going to give an honest review as I go through this, just like I did on the last video. I don't know if you hadn't seen it. I built the, let's see, it's a TR25 in a video that I'll link up here. And you can see how that kit was laid out. So I'm just separating out, things that are nuts, bolts, washers, locking washers, all of that into one area. All the zip ties into another area. This little board I know goes on later. There's some resistors, it looks like. Here's another resistor, a capacitor, a diode, so I'll try to separate this out to where I can find parts when I need it. Looks like we're going to be wrapping 3 toroids. There's a very small toroid I'm concerned about losing, so let's go ahead and get this back over here and get started. So it says to start by putting the capacitor in. Usually in most kits that I've built, it says to put the resistors on first, but maybe there's a reason here to start with the capacitor. It goes in C3. C3. It doesn't say to leave it off the board any or anything like that. So let's just put it in there. Get some solder on the tip. C3. Set these legs over here for right now, and just so that I'm sure okay, making good contact. Started off well. Next is a diode. It's a 1N4148 diode. Observe polarity. That is this little guy. I've got some kids singing outside, it sounds like. So I'm going to bend that over. Those aren't my kids, so sounds like some grandkids maybe across the street. Put this diode in here next. That is D2. Let's just look at the picture here. That is D2. Again, most other kits I ever build, you put in the resistors before you put in diodes and the like. But I'll just follow the instructions. D2. Let's clip them and check to make sure we're getting good connection. This should connect to here. This should connect to there. Okay. All right, D2 is done. Next, install a 470 ohm resistor in R4. It is the yellow, violet, brown, gold. Yellow, I am colorblind. So what we're going to do is measure resistance on this. I think an R4. So I measure with my voltmeter whenever I do resistors. And I have verified that this is in fact a 4.7 ohm resistor. Let's go ahead and put that in there. Get it all the way up against the board and solder it in place. Also test to make sure that they're good. I don't trust lines, I guess, but lines on electric components, I guess. I don't know. All right, let's make sure that that's making good connection everywhere. That was this one. And this one. Okay, so that seems to be making good connection. Clip those off and save them. Next, install D1 clear LED. Let's see, where does this little light go? Let's see, SWR. Long leg goes to the plus side. Long leg to the plus side, right here. I'm going to go ahead and flush mount it. All right, let's check that one. Soldered well, it looks like. All right, so far, very easy. So let's do our 1 through 3 or 51 ohm, 2 kilowatt, or I'm sorry, 2 watt power resistors, which are these. There are 3 of them. I've already tested them to make sure that they were 51 ohm. These bent over. I'm going to start with R3 because of where my board's being held. Get the other side. Really don't think that's going to matter at all. We'll snip it and test it. Should be able to get a resistance from here to here of 51 ohms. That works. Means that's connected all the way through. Let's go ahead and get another one put in. R2. Okay. Snip these and we'll measure from here to here. We get 51.1 ohms. Okay, means we're definitely making contact. And one more of these to go in. Legs. Drop those there. All right, we should be able to go from here to here and get 51 ohms. 51.1. Now, if we were to go from here to here, we should get 100. Oh no, because it's going across that leg, it's not coming all the way back across here. We should go from here to here and get 101.5. Okay, so we're doing good so far. Everything's checking out. Although I don't like how I did that one, but it's working. Okay, so for T3, use FT37 for, so now we're going to get into toroids. So there's some red ones and a black one. It says it's the black core and 24 inches of the thinner supplied wire. Well, thinner supplied wire. Which one's thinner? Don't have my micrometer. I'd say this one's thinner. I need 2 feet of this. So I believe that this wire and the last wire that I undid, not the last one, the one before the last one, are the same type of wire. Nope. So this one is the thinner of the wire. So I'm going to put this up here also. So now it says we got to do something with this thin wire and this black toroid. I can tell you we got to wrap it, right? So it says you're winding a total of 24 turns with the tap at 5 turns from the beginning of the wire. Remember, every time you pass through the hole, it counts as 1 turn. The picture and figure below show the beginning of the winding and twisting technique for the tap. The total of 24 turns is will completely fill the toroid. Don't wind it loose. Secure it to the PCB using one of the nylon wire ties, basically. So that's the end of those 2 pages. So it looks like we go says no, now is a good time to mention a good way for counting the toroids on a small toroid. Many times on toroids with a lot of turns you lose track going around. Good trick is to take a digital picture of it and blow it up on your computer screen. Counting is clearly a lot easier. Never cut until you verify the turn count. Too many turns is an easy fix. Too few is not good. So it looks like we wrap it. One, that's through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we twist it, and then we continue on. So it says I need 24 inches of this. So let's get 24 inches. That is 12. Well, there's that much left over. So I don't know if it's needed somewhere else. Maybe it is, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one. So we've gone through once. In fact, I'm going to do it like they show it. Go through once. I'm going to go ahead and hold that. Go through twice. Get this out of the way. Right, so there's 5 wraps. And then let's make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so now it shows making a loop out here and twisting it a few times and then going back for the other wraps. Before I go read the instructions, I'm going to wrap another one just to secure this in place. Maybe 2. So this is 6. So I'm on 7. Okay, so let's figure out how many we need to wrap. $24.
Nine, 10. Make sure it didn't cross over. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 22, but I gotta pull it tight. 22. That one crossed over.
23. $24. Now we get to count. Some really small wires here. Make sure nothing's crossed over. Okay, so 2, 3, 4.
It'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24.
So basically, you end up with a scenario like this. Okay, so it says strip the enamel by whatever means you like, burn off with lighter, use the soldering iron, blah 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 blah. So let's clip this first. Give myself something to play with here for length. Alright. In fact, this scenario, these two are twisted together. Try not to cut some wires here. Scrape it off. So I don't want to lose which two wires those are. These are the ones that go together. Thought I just cut that one. Sure felt like I did. I can find it. Okay, so the two that are, oh jeez, I don't think it's that one. I think it's this one and this one. So, let's see if I got any continuity between these now. how in the heck so much time is spent on toroids. Okay, let's make sure that we got the right one here. So we went these two should be connected together. Off a little bit shorter and solder them together. Alright, so I gotta figure out why that one's not wanting to strip off. I do see some that looks stripped there. And I see some over here that looks stripped. Okay, that should be stripped. All right. So now, where does this thing go? This goes This goes on T3. T3. So, does it say where on T3? So the tap is the 5-turn one. So I gotta get just a little of that solder off of there to get it to go through there. Okay. Let's see if we can get tapped down in there. Taps in there. Tweezers. That side goes there. This side's gonna be a blast to get to. Can't seem to get a hold of that wire. Okay, so now this needs to lay over. Hopefully we can get to lay over. Like so. And then see how we gotta move these around a little bit. So that's gotta go there. I think maybe I got those two backwards in the holes. I think that no. Let's make absolutely sure this one's got some strip back there. That side looks good. We'll just make absolutely sure. Gonna make sure on this one also. Yeah, that one looks good. looks good. So it's going to pull these snug. Hit it with solder. Okay, I'm going to get the fly out of my ear, bend these up, clip those two, this zip tie through the middle, Alright, T3 is being held on. I don't know if I need two or just one zip tie. I think just one's probably. Oh, it shows two. We'll go ahead and do two, just to be sure. Seems like overkill for that, but okay. Got 4 more, so that should be okay. 2 toroids, 4 left. See if I can feed this through that hole. I'm not going to make that overly tight. I am going to go back and test it now for just to make sure that we can, in fact. Okay, that's a very good sign. Okay, they all make contact with each other, which means that this should now make contact with this. Okay. Means it's going through the board. That ain't a problem at all. Okay, that toroid is mounted. Longest part of the project, I think. Okay, so now bend down the leads, trim them, the blah. Okay, solder T3 were indicated on the board. I did that. By the way, it says do not elevate it off the board. Also, it says then to tie it down with the straps. So install the BNC connector flush. BNC connector. Looking, there it is, J1. Does it say flush to the bottom? Install flush with the top of the board, solder to, let's see, 2 locating pins and 2 electrical connections. So you solder all 4 of these pins. Locating pins are just these bigger, thicker pins that help hold it on the board. So these 4 right here, these like to fall out, so what I'm going to do is tack it in place. Alright, so I'm just going to tack this in place by getting some solder on the soldering iron and letting it fall right back off onto my tool. Just going to hit one of these sides for right now. Well, I hold it in place. That way it can get nice and well soldered on this other side. Come back over here. These won't make any connection except for maybe to ground. Those are really just to hold. So now we'll kit these over here. I don't think they even connect to ground on this board, which is fine. All they're there for really is to hold that BNC snugly in place. Make sure it doesn't just pop off. So let's go ahead and test these real quick. That one works. This one should go to ground, wherever ground happens to be on this board. There we go. That one should not go to ground. We're good. Alright. I don't even think I need to snip those. So, alright. BNC connectors on. Install S1, which is a slide switch in the place indicated. Solder all 4 corners and electric pins. S1, so that looks like a slide switch. Doesn't say which direction, and things look evenly spaced. So let's find out if they are. I really don't think it matters which direction. There's no indicator saying that it needs to go in one direction or the other. Yeah. No indicator. I wonder which way can I tell on there. Theirs doesn't quite have the marks mine has, so I really don't think it's gonna matter. There's nothing on top indicating anything, so anyway, I'm gonna put it in this way. That just feels right. So you gotta, again, tack it. That should hold it while I hit these another corner. Make sure it's pressed down firmly. It is. Come back to this one, hit it. This one. Hit this one. Alright, so the 4 corners are down and the switch is firmly mounted. Now we can go back and worry about making good solder joints on these pins. Alright, let's check for continuity where these things should go. So this pin should hit this. This pin should hit this. Those two are intentionally connected or not? So I'm not for sure what good this switch does exactly. There are no bridges across them. Let's see if we can figure out what happens here. Okay, so when the switch is switched that way, these connect. When the switch is switched this way, these connect. So that did work. So now we've got the switch. So we're on to page 4. So now it talks about modifying some stuff potentially. It says prior to installing the poly pockets, nope, these poly whatevers, we need to modify them. Okay, so we don't have to modify those. They came modified already. So we got to put them in place. It seems like there's only one way to put them in place. Say is preset the 2 trimmers on the back of both of these guys to their maximum capacitance as shown in the graphic below. Well, it looks like we need a little flathead screwdriver. Let's see if these are adjustable. How these are adjustable. How adjustable these are. Oh, okay. So this needs to go that way. I'm not maximum engagement. Well, to me, that seems like it should go there. And that seems like it should go something like the picture in the manual does not match. I think that's supposed to go like this. This leading over to that one, such. I think that's what it's telling me to do. But the manual does not look the same as these guys. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll let you know if that works or not at some point, maybe when we do the test. at some point. So install C1, C2 by attaching the blah 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 to the four with the 4 screws. Carefully feed the 6 leads to the board, solder the 6 leads. So there's some screws that hold these in place, it looks like. But where, what, I'm confused. Does that screw onto this? I would assume the back side of this, but does that go on there like so? And then that goes to, okay. So do these need to flip over the other way? That can't go through there. This screws onto here with this small screw. We're going to screw this into here. I assume that's the right screw. It looks like there's 4 of them. So that one would go here? No. I think I got this upside down. We'll figure this out. So if those have to go through that portion of the board, and this has to face this way, these would have to bend down. That's what it's trying to tell me in that portion of the instructions, I guess. Okay, so those bend down to go into there. This has to go here, and then these screw on here. Gotcha. Right now I'm just screwing them in, not super tight. Just tight enough to hold them in place for me right now while I figure this out. So this, and this all have to bend the other direction. Okay. So this is going there. This one's got to go this way. Still waiting on that fingernail polish. This may be something good to put some fingernail polish on, just to hold these screws for us here. So those look like they go that way. And then this, all 6 of these have to feed in. Going to be a challenge. Maybe we should take these 3 in first. Good thing is that they are long. And then take these 3 in here, and then that pushes down on there. Let's see if we got all of them in. We got all 6 in. So I'm going to tack one of these. That may hold. I'm still going to hold it while I tack one of these. I've turned off my soldering iron. Heating up. Alright, we're going to tack one of these while I hold this in. Just to get it to hold for me for just a second while it cools. Alright, so now let's tack this other side. Keep it hot while I apply pressure. Okay, those are tacked. Alright, so those are soldered in place. Let's do some checking real quick. Just some continuity tests real quick, just to make sure that we are making good contact. So this one goes to ground. Those two connect together. These two right now are connected together through that device. So now what? Now we put the knobs on, it looks like. And then we gotta wrap some more. Nope, that's that Toroid. So we put the knobs on. We gotta trim these to be flush. Hopefully these clippers will do the trick. They will. All right. All right, so now we gotta put some knobs on. Looks like there's a long metric screw that screws down in there. It says long metric screw. It's very definitive that it's long. Looks like it screws in quite some distance, maybe all the way through. So we'll go ahead and, no. Oh, we need these spacers. The spacers are what go in next. I miss the spacers. So spacer, long metric screw, sounds like the sirens are going off for the noon test on Saturdays around here. So we've done all that. Install the hardware for the antenna posts, which are these guys. Install the hardware for the antenna posts. So the antenna posts go through there for jumper 1 and for one here, one here. So it shows that we put this on, then this on, then this on, then this on, put it through the board, and then put this on. Now, we're going to take that to there. Then we're going to loosen this one back down to here. Not that these are the strongest things in the world, but they should at least get it to where I can turn this a little bit. Right, so now I'll come back with some little wrench and tighten that down, but for right now we'll go ahead and keep going on the video. I think the only thing we have left after this is toroids and the wire for the antenna, of course. What I'll do is come back with some fingernail polish on this part also, this little screw down here, just to give it a little more stability. It's not like it can't be broken off, but I'll tighten both of those down. And so your wires go on here, and then you tighten this down and it holds it in place. That's the gist of that part. So the next and final pieces of this are the toroids, these two right here, which are these two toroids and all of that wire that I had separated out earlier. So, okay, so the next thing that we have to do is the T1 toroid assembly. So let's move this over for right now and grab one of these two. looks like what we need to do is read the instructions. It says the next item to make and install is T1. The T1062 Toroid red has 14 turn center tapped primary and 9 turn secondary. We have supplied a total of 10 foot of 20 gauge magnetic wire for T1 and T2. Proper winding of the transformer will result in 2 different windings ending up at the correct position on the PCB. The secondary winding is on top of the primary winding. The graphic below shows the separate windings and how they're positioned on the T162 Toroid. Please study the following figures and understand the process before you wind the transformer. It says if a winding does not end up as shown below or is not wound in the same direction as below, the tuner will not work properly. Note that the ends of the windings must be over or under the core as shown below. Then it's got the 2 windings. It looks like 14 primary taps and then 9 secondary turns. Okay, so we're going to set this instruction sheet right here so I can refer to it as I wind these. Prepare the primary winding as shown in the figure below. Cut 30 inches of the red 20 gauge wire. I think this is red. And it's picked up some resistors from my resistor stockpile over here. It says cut 30 inches from this. So this is going somewhere else for right now. Safe. And I'm making some room. I only see 3 of my tie wraps. Hopefully I only need 3. Oh, there's the 4th one. Okay. 30 inches. So we're going to go, this goes to 15, I think. So we'll just go all the way across. And then all the way across again. So to there. That looks like about right. Okay, so there's 30 inches of that one. And it says in a 2-inch piece, strip off the insulation. So we need 2 inches of this one. Okay, and we should be able to put this wire up here out of the way. If it'll stay up there, out of the way. Okay, hopefully it is. Okay, it says to cut a 2-inch, let's see, it says scrape the insulation off the 2-inch piece for 1/4 of an inch. 1/4 of an inch would be right to about there. So we need to scrape off the insulation. I'm going to do it over here. Hopefully you can see it. Okay. It's back 1/4 of an inch. I didn't get this side real well. Okay, it's off all the way around. Just a little over 1/4 of an inch, but should be fine. Now what do? We make a small loop that will attach to the center of the 30-inch section. Okay? So I'm going to use these guys, hopefully. To make a small loop. Let's do it over here. Small loop. Hopefully that's in focus. And then it says on the 30-inch piece, measure 15 inches to the center. Scrape off the insulation for 1/8 of an inch. Well, you know what? I happen to have exactly 15 inches of measurement here. So scrape off about 1/8 of an inch of the insulation here. This side didn't get. Trying to get it all the way around, real good, nice and clean. Okay, looks good. And then it says to solder that onto here, I think. So we got that piece. It says and solder the loop. Let's fit that loop over there. And squeeze that loop down on there. And then we're going to solder that loop in place. I think I'm going to try it this way. Let's try to tack it. Because it seems like everything on these kits is tack it. Let's get that loop back where it goes there. First thing I've done is just tacked it in place. Now we're going to go back and hit it with some solder. Hopefully it'll stay in place. Nope. So let's get some solder on both wires and then try. Okay, now let's try to solder it well. Well, this is not proving to be a lot of fun right there. Hopefully that gets it. Burning my fingers some, but sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. Okay, so what I want to do is try to wrap that around there a little bit, I think. Wrap that little short piece around. See if I can get that to work. So I've got that one soldered. Now it says start winding by positioning the tap halfway up the outside of the core and pass the right side winding up through the center. So it looks like we take this way and then we pass it through here. If you're facing the toroid, the right side goes around the toroid and then up through the hole. The left side goes through the toroid, then underneath the bottom, wraps around through, then back through the top of the toroid. You want to make sure not to get that little stub in there. So we're going to do a couple of them. We're going to tighten it up here in a second, but I'm not pulling them tight just so I can show. Alright, so let me just make sure. Yes. So this is how you want this to look. So this one, this side's going through the toroid before wrapping around. This side is wrapping around, going through the back of the toroid. This side's going through the front of the toroid, or through the red side. So let me get this snugged up some here. And I'm going to put a couple more wraps in and pull them tight. Figure out which side was which now. Okay. Left side, you go around the bottom, through the toroid, then back around, through the front of the toroid. Right, so you're passing it through the front. That's on the left side if you're facing the toroid. On the right side, if you're facing the toroid, you're going through the back and back around. Front, you're going, or the left side, you're going through the front and back around. So let's see how many wraps I have on this bad boy. So it shows on here from the center to the right, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it goes through 7 times. The 7th time is open. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need 6. And the 7th time should be there. This side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We need to go one more. That would be 6, and the 7th time would be up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then it comes out the bottom. This side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then it comes out the top. All right. Let's adjust these around to where things are evenly spaced and end up where they're supposed to on the edge of the toroid. So it says that these need to come out up here like this off the toroid. So here's the front of the toroid. This one's on the front, this side's on the back, and then you've got your tail here. All right, so then it says we need to wrap the other one all through it evenly for however many wraps. Let's see what it comes up with. Cut another piece of green 20 gauge wire. So the only thing that I think is green is this one. We need to cut it 18 inches long, mark the center at 9 inches with a marker, and start with the center. So 18 inches. Put a mark. All right, 9 inches, put a mark. Got it. Now, get back to the right page. So 9 inches, put a mark. With the mark, and start with the center of the wire along one side of the tap. Okay, on the outside, and wind each direction for 9 turns. Wind the right side up through the center and the left side down through the center. Okay, so we put this at the tap. We do 9 turns basically. So it's 1, so this one does need to be tighter. 1, 2, but not wrapped over itself. Come on now. Why does that want to do that? I hate color. I don't know how many I got there. I think I took one out. So, especially shiny color. So that would be 1 time through there, 2 times through there, 3 times through there, and I think 4 times through there. Okay, and that's all shifted over a little bit, so let's go. One time through there. 2 times through there. Three times through there. We're going to go 4 times through there. Four times through there. Now we're going to check the picture. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is 4. Right? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, not counting that one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not counting this one. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Okay, and then this one is 5, I think, right? Not counting this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then back under. 1, 2, 3. So I only have 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Let's go ahead and put that through one more time. 4 and then under. Okay, I'm going to do my best to show you here. But I don't think it's going to show up worth a flip. So we'll use this one. That's what my Toroid ends up looking like. So hopefully that's good. Hopefully you can see color better than I can. Okay, and that says in the picture above the leads 2 and 4. 2 and 4. Okay, so this is 2 and this is 4. If we look up here. So here's your tap, 2 and 4. Let's get the board back. Leads 2 and 4 do what? Above the center tap should exit the core over the top. Okay, they do. Of the Toroid, and 1 and 3 should be under. 1 and 3 are under. That's a good sign. When all these leads are bent down, it will line up with the lettered pads on the PCB. Okay? Got it? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this PCB out of here real quick because I have a feeling I'm going to need to manipulate some stuff here. Okay, when you're satisfied that all of these instructions, strip the enamel for 1 and 3, pass them through the PCB on the inner diameter of the Toroid. 2 and 4, pass it through the PCB on the outer. Install on the top side of the board. Okay, so we need to strip some enamel. And these two, 2 and 4, pass through the PCB on the outer side. So they're going to go like this. So I need enough for that. And these two go on the inner side. So strip some enamel off out here. Okay, so that one's stripped. This one we'll want to strip out here a ways also. That should be able to go through and solder. That should be able to go through and solder. Okay, so these go on the inside of the board. These are going to have to be stripped back further. I'm just hitting two sides of these. It's going to be next to impossible to get to them all over the place like I want, I think. Okay, and then this one. Okay, so those are stripped. So where does it say? So I'm going to have to figure out where tap is going to go. So the tap looks like it needs to be stripped out a little ways. We're going to make an assumption here. We're going to strip a lot of it, is what we're going to do. Alright, so these two are down through the center, these are over the top. We're going to cut some of this wire off out of the way so I can work with it. Not too much, but plenty. All right, looks like it goes this way. So put 1 and 3. Oh wait, are we on T? We are on T1, aren't we? Let's make sure we're on T1. We are on T1. See, it's got to be. The other one is wound completely differently, so it's got to be T1. Let's get those two in, because they're on the inside and going to be difficult to get to. Okay. Let's go ahead and strip off a little more of this. Just want to make sure that I get good contact here. Really important that that enamel not be in the way when you got to make contact. And it's also important that your instruction sheets don't blow away. Okay, so there's those. We need 2 to go in through. So now this will kind of hold inside of here without me worrying about it just falling off and destroying everything I've done. So that one will go there. This one will go here. Alright, make sure that this is put in where it needs to be. What I'm going to do, wonder if I should put those zip ties on first or not. It will affect that. So we're going to go ahead and solder it down first. So the one that I have the absolute most confidence in getting to is right here. So we've got it on the board. It's not soldered yet. You got to make sure those go to the right spot, obviously. I'm going to hit this first one on the outside real quick just to hold it while I get the others. If that side's held in, then I should be able to potentially work my way around this guy. Just pull these snug as I do. Wire does get hot, so get some solder on there, pull it snug, let loose of the or let the solder iron move back out, and then that tight. That one doesn't look like it wants to solder. So I wonder if I don't have the enamel stripped back far enough on this one. So I'm going to try to burn it off. Okay, so it's on there. Now let's see if we've got any connectivity between them. Helps if I turn on my audible alert here. Nope. Yep. Nope. So this one should have connectivity, I would think, over to here, but it doesn't. Okay, so it does there. I'll move this out here. So I do not believe that this one is soldered well still. Do my best to burn that enamel off of there. See if it does now. First, let's go here to here. That should work. Okay, so that's on there now. Trim these off. And we had a low battery warning over here. So I've got one more toroid. Before I go on to that, I want to show you this, and I'll record the other toroid here in a bit after I charge up some batteries. So we're down to one last toroid to build, and let me get that put together. I am down 2 cameras, so we will we'll continue and see what happens here. So the T3 assembly, I'm sorry, T2 assembly. So the toroid's going to look like this in the end. That right there. That right there. Looks like we got 3 wires that need to be wrapped together. I'm going to make an assumption that it's the last 3 that I have, which means I should probably untie or unwind this one, straighten it out, and put it with these. So it says use 18 inches of each color. Well, 18 inches of each color. I would have to assume that that's 18 inches. Let's see. That's 15. It's actually a little longer than 18 inches of each color, but let's go ahead and trim this down to 18 just to make sure. So that's 15. 18 inches would be to there. So what I'm going to do, yeah, let's go ahead and trim 18 inches of each color. Set those in that box. Yep, okay. 18 inches, and it looks like we've got to keep it straight as we go around. And I've got wind not wanting to help much. I'm going to put it on this toroid. Let's see, we're going to do 9 wraps of each. So I'm seriously thinking that I'm going to do one at a time. I think I'm going to do one at a time. Okay, so we're going to go over, leave enough hanging off. fly that won't get out of here. In Oklahoma, flies get bad in the summertime. Last year they were horrible. So these are just evenly spaced wraps all the way around, tight, for 9 wraps. I'm gonna count them and make sure I got it right. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Check one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then it comes back around. Okay, setting it on there just to make sure it looks right. It does. So next I'm going to take the next color that I see as the darkest, which to me are the next lightest, which is to me is red. I'm going to wrap that on the inside. This other one. I think the other one's green. And I think it's going to be best for me to do these one at a time, but we're about to find out how difficult that's going to be. For right now, this guy's going to hang out this way. So they're not supposed to cross over each other, so if you start on the right side of the first one you put in, then it needs to be on the right side on each one of these wraps of the next loop. That flies back. Okay, let's make sure that these are close together all the way around. Looks like they are. Alright, we got one more to go, which is the lightest one. It's going to go on the inside. Apologize for any background noise. They're building a house down the street. I don't know if it would have been easier to do all these together or not, because I only plan on doing this one time. I'm not going to go back and figure out if it would have been easier to stick them all together and wrap them together. I may have to go back and fix it, but we'll find out. Almost got it, I think. Alright, now to inspect. Well, let's group these together a little closer and then inspect. Something does not look right. Okay, no it is. Okay, flip it over. Oh, that one's not right there. Okay, so these last three, I'm going to loop them back through together at the end because I don't like how those looked. That one's tucked inside of that one. So I took 2 wraps out. Just going to tell you, it is better to do one at a time, I think. Yeah, I don't know how you can do all 3 at one time effectively, all the way around this thing. So for right now, I'll leave this here. Take green and move it up here for right now so I can see what I'm doing. Holy moly. Okay, we're going to wrap one at a time up here. Alright, so I got the gold. I think it's gold. What I think is red. One more wrap in there. Jiminy Christmas, it's still tucked under there. done this before. I could go through one more time. Okay, I think I got it fairly well here. Let's looks pretty good. Finally. Okay, so now just lay this down. That one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. Then these come back around here. May not be perfectly spaced yet, but okay, so then I'm gonna cut off, I don't know, about that much for right now. Okay, and then I'm sure we get all the ends prepared and then we solder. Looks like these ends are gonna need to be prepared up to about there. These ends will need to be prepared up to, so if these are going in there, these are going to wrap around one more time and go down, so about right here. All right. That should allow me to solder at least. it should at least allow me to solder it. So yep, these do loop back in order. To be soldered down in order. I said how much I hate winding toroids. I don't hate it. It's not the most enjoyable part of a kit build for me. Just not. So we got to put in so in mine, well, A, B, C. So for me, C is green, B is red, Okay, now that that's held, maybe I can solder this without burning my finger. Not really. Not a fan of doing toroids, especially big ones. Let's do this. I got one tack there. So one furthest up should be the one furthest down over here. So let's go ahead and get C mounted on both sides real quick. May have to strip that just a little further back. tax C in place on both. And come back and get A and B fairly well. Okay. Now A and B. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and pull these tight and fold them over. I don't always like doing that, but in this case, I think it's necessary for me to get solder on. That's alright. This one should go. Let's get this one soldered, then we'll or get this through the hole, and then we'll adjust it. How about that? You know, I don't know about that. Okay, I think that looks good now. Tack this one in place too. Tack them all in place here. That sure hurts the fingers. Just enough to hold it while I get these hook onto it. Try and give it a tug to pull it tight here. Oh, that's going down into there. Okay. Gotcha. I don't need to yank those out. This does need to slide over this way just a little bit. Right, so the transformers are built. Let's get them held down to the board. Let's just make sure that we put this on the right way, see if it tells us. It doesn't even say. So transformers, for these, I'm just gonna go like, well, you know what? Let's do it this way. I use the bottom of the board to try to hold where this square is. It's one. Bottom of this one. For this one. I don't know what that is. Big old spider. This is 2. Alright, so get this guy held down. this guy to hold down. All right, it's all put together. Let's see, QRPGuys 40m-10m UnUnTenna Plus. The only thing left to do with this board is to hook up the wire. I'm going to use some 26 gauge. I'm only going to be running QRP through this, obviously. This is rated for 10 watts max. My build of the radio, the TR25, is technically 10 watts max. It's rated for up to 10 watts, or been tested for 10 watts for 10 minutes continuous keying, but it's really a 5-watt radio, and this is really designed up to 10 watts, but really designed for 5 watts. So this is that kit completed. It does have instructions next on how to use the kit. It does have a schematic that you can test everything out, make sure that everything's okay. Worst part of the kit, like all kits, is toroids. The rest of it was fairly simple to put together. Haven't tested it. I'll let you know when I do, but it'll probably be a while. 73 guys, have a great day.